I understand that, like, this sounds very carnivorous to be like, well, it's delicious. But I think that is a hurdle that a lot of people need help getting over. Is there a future where there is a meat replacement that is just as like yummy? And I know that sounds terrible to someone who's only plant-based. Like, why do you like carcass, you weirdo?
Eddie Garza is a plant-based chef, cookbook author, and host. He joins us today to talk about his journey and what cooking is in his life. Please welcome Chef Eddie Garza.
Yay!
Thank you so much.
Eddie.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for
It's so
coming.
great to be here with you all finally.
Yes.
So I'm super excited because I've been thinking about getting into plant-based, but I want to get started with kind of getting our viewers familiar with where you're from and kind of where you got your start.
Well, I'm originally from South Texas, a town called Brownsville on the border between Texas and Mexico, Matamoros. It was a cool place. I mean, a lot of people who are from there might disagree, but I loved it because it was like kind of the best of both worlds. We had everything from the US, everything from Mexico, and even more fascinating was that in a border town, you're gonna find all the foods from all over Mexico because people come over from different parts of the country and they bring their culture. So I got to experience all of that, and it was amazing. I got to grow up with my grandmother, who I love so much, my mom, my dad, all my family. And, one of the things that was a big thing in all of our families and Mexican families is food. Nice. So, when you have a family that loves food as much as you do, you just love to party and hang out with everybody. So I had an interesting life growing up. It was, I struggled with problems of depression largely because I was gay and didn't talk about that. It was something that was not really accepted in that part of the country and in a lot of border towns. So that led to a lot of other problems that I was having in school, not being able to concentrate. And it was all because I was suppressing this thing that was part of me, but I didn't know how to express myself. So I expressed myself through eating. So I ate and ate and ate, and that was really just the only way that I could live and enjoy my life. But then that led to other problems like growing up to be an obese kid and then growing up to be an obese adult and then having to figure out how do we go from here? Because I had gotten to the point where I wasn't just overweight, I was seriously obese. I was pre-diabetic, I was constantly injured. My ankles literally could not support my weight. So I'm glad that I met somebody who helped me change my life and start making small changes. And then from that point on, it's like a new life began.
Absolutely. No, and I get it. I was obese myself as a kid. And being gay and being obese and then having the health problems plus dealing, in my case, with like some bullying and like that, it creates this huge ball effect that is like, you lose control of your life. And before you even know it, it's like, okay, I got to do something about this. But I have a question for you. So it's like I have many questions for you, but one of them is in the part of like eating healthy and everything, how do we battle it when we come from Latino families where like abuela is like, si no te comes todo, like, you're gonna be in trouble. And then, we're always taught to like overeat and the portion, and it's kind of like a sign of love, but it's part of our culture. How do we do that better? How do we deal with that better?
I think it's like everything. There's new conditioning that needs to happen in every single way that we are trying to express ourselves and how to get people to understand where we're coming from. And that comes not just from like the foods that we eat, but also other things that are part of what is considered our culture, like machismo is a big part of that. How do we change that? Well, we have to be the ones who set that example. We have to tell people what we need. And I think we're in a space right now, especially, where we can tell people openly and confidently that this is how this is. This is what I need from you. This is what is going to help us have like a equal relationship.
What are you dealing with your own family when you try to talk to them about this?
Well, it's interesting. I don't have the problems with my family that a lot of other people have. I came from a Mexican family. We were used to eating a lot of plant-based foods that were just naturally plant-based. In Cuba, I imagine it's very similar to Nicaragua. My husband's from Nicaragua, so like they have that same thing where if there's no meat, then like where do you get your protein? But the reality is like where don't you get your protein? Protein's in everything. But if you're looking for proteins that are going to be really good for you, you're going to look for the stuff that's going to be more protein, more fiber, because that's one thing that meat does not have is fiber. And that's really important for your overall health. So when you talk to people about, why we're doing this plant-based diet or why this is working for me, it's because I'm helping my body in not just ways that are good for me, physically, but also great for the environment because we know that animal agriculture is responsible for a lot of the problems with the environment. And of course, the way that animals are treated on factory farms is something that nobody likes to see. So what if even just a small change, like, hey, let's just do like a Monday where we don't eat meat. It's called Meatless Monday. I'm an ambassador for the Meatless Monday campaign. And one of the things that I love about it is that so many people can adopt these things like one day out of the week. Come on.
How did you get involved? Like, how did you fall into, this passion about it? Like, how did it all come about?
Well, when I first started this movement, I had come from eating like a triple cheeseburger every morning for breakfast and a meat lover's pizza for dinner. And that was just kind of a general thing that I would do on a daily basis. Wow. And thankfully, I met somebody who just said, like, you need to change the way you eat or you're gonna die. And she was right. So that weekend, she offered me a solution to go and learn from this health coach. And we learned that eating more fruits and vegetables, are good for you. But of course, like the most obvious things are sometimes some of the hardest things to adopt. What I loved about this workshop is they were really just telling you to eat more fruits and vegetables. I said, sure, I can eat more. Just give me more of anything that I like, and that's fine. And I loved watermelon. I loved oranges. I loved any of those fruits. So I started eating more of them on a regular basis. And then after about a week, I started just kind of shifting away from, well, instead of this burger in the morning, I'm going to try doing something like an oatmeal, like that health coach said. So it was a 5-year process, a 5-year learning process from eating triple cheeseburgers for breakfast to eating absolutely no meat at all, but eating a lot of other types of foods that were healthy, that were delicious. After about 5 years, I did lose 150 pounds, which was amazing. I didn't even intend to do this. But I think what was more powerful about this entire thing was that I learned so much more about my food choices and the impact it made on the rest of the world around me. During that time, that saying that RuPaul says about how can you love anybody else if you don't love yourself? So I started loving myself because I started actually feeling better. I felt mentally a lot better. And that creates room for empathy. So I started seeing other animals when I would see myself in other animals, specifically the bird that's raised for chicken meat, so the broiler chicken as we call them. Now, these animals are raised so large, so fast that they have crippling leg conditions. And it reminded me of those times that I used to sprain my ankle, just not being able to support my weight. Now, that was something that I had done to myself, but these chickens can't do that. They don't have a choice. They're bred to be this way. To see them and to see like myself in my past, I was seeing the same person, I was seeing the same image, and I thought, this is actually even better than just being healthier. So I feel like I'm doing something for all these other animals, and my empathy just like went skyrocket from there. And I love it. It's just been an incredible journey.
Well, I think and I understand that this sounds very carnivorous to be like, well, it's delicious. But I think that is a hurdle that a lot of people need help getting over is there a future where there is a meat replacement that is just as yummy? And I know that sounds terrible to someone who's only plant-based. Like, why do you like carcass, you weirdo? I know. So I'm asking this because I know there's carnivores watching us too.
Yeah, I get it. I grew up in a town where barbecue was like a way of life. So one of the things that we did every single weekend was have a barbecue. If it wasn't at our house, it was at one of my cousin's houses, So we always had meat as part of the family and part of the parties. So I get the love of that flavor. And thankfully, we have things today that are those exact replacements.
If you say jackfruit,
I'm not going to say jackfruit.
I have tasted the jackfruit barbecue, and I got to tell you, I could not do it. But maybe yours I could do.
I'll tell you what. So there are so many different types of jackfruit, but one of them that I like to use is the one from Mexico that doesn't sit in brine, because that's the thing that I think you don't like. It's that briny flavor. So there are different alternatives, and we can talk afterwards about it. However, there are all these chicken and meat alternatives right now that taste just like beef and just like chicken and just like pork, and they even cook just like it. I recently worked with a new product from China, I believe, that is a pork product that cooks in 3 minutes and tastes just like ground pork, and it makes an amazing dumpling. Now, we've also got the Impossible Burger, the Beyond Burger. They make incredible tacos. Beyond the burger, they make amazing tacos. But there are so many different chicken alternatives now in the market. There are so many right now Michelin star chefs who are using these chicken alternatives because most people are trying to get away from eating so much meat. And that's the trend that we're moving toward. 2022 is going to bring a lot more plant-based food because that's what the public is asking for. And it's great that it's already there in the market for us.
And I think also, do you think that maybe more people aren't plant-based because it's not as accessible?
I think that for a lot of people, that was the case before. It certainly was the case when I was in Texas. There were not a lot of vegan restaurants. I think there was, well, the one that I worked at was one of the first. But nowadays, you can find vegan food in the smallest towns in Texas because you can get an Impossible Burger at Burger King in, name the town, USA, and it's there. You can also get a lot of plant-based foods at just like a regular Mexican restaurant. A lot of the simple things like the beans and guacamole with tortillas, and who's going to say no to any of that, right?
Yeah.
Well, we want to thank Chef Eddie for joining us. And for more, you can follow at the Eddie Garza on Instagram. And we come back, we get a visit from Juliana, who's in Spain. That's awesome. This is the Q Agenda.